Here we are with Chris Jericho, who I personally remember him as the Ayatollah of rock and roll.
It's like 20 years ago.
Yeah, exactly.
More than that, 23 years ago.
Yeah, I remember you starting out at WCW, going to WWE, New Japan, and now at AEW. What has this career been like for you?
What's it been like? It's been amazing. I mean, that's a pretty broad question for 32 years, you know what I mean? But I think the fact that I was able to have this dream when I was a kid and have it come true to where, you know, I've been getting a chance to travel the world to do what I love to do and do what I always wanted to do is a pretty cool payoff.
Yeah. And you're one of the first AEW World Heavyweight Champions as well for this new promotion. The first for this new promotion. What was it about AEW that, as it's being your next venture?
Well, I mean, we started it together, right? Tony Khan and myself, and Nick and Matt and Kenny, and I think the biggest appeal to me was the challenge of it. I could have stayed in WWE for years and been a part of the culture, been a part of the scenery, so to speak. But with AEW, we had a chance to change the entire wrestling business, and we knew it was a risk. But we also knew that there was a fan out there, a style of fan, a breed of fan that wanted something different from the norm. And I think that was what really appealed to me about AEW was we have a chance to change wrestling history. And so even though it was a risk at first, I really was drawn to that. You know, and I knew that if we could make it work, it's just another kind of feather in the, you know, Chris Jericho's cap, the legend of Chris Jericho, that sort of a thing. So it was risky, but it was really appealing, and I thought it would work, and I was right. I think all of us were right. We really, very, very quickly showed that what we had felt, that we were correct, and that people were looking for something different.
Exactly. And with the Jericho Appreciation Society, that's what we're going with now. What has that been like for you to reinvent yourself and because you do something that not many have done in the pro wrestling game and call it sports entertainers, sports entertainment. What was it to do that and to bring that out and to really, because you're constantly changing, you're constantly growing.
Well, and that's the idea, you know, if you're going to have a long career in anything, you have to reinvent yourself and you have to change things up or else it becomes stagnant, you know, and I think people enjoy it when you're always changing, when you're always reinventing and evolving. And you know, the Jericho Appreciation Society is the next step of that. It was just the right move at the right time, and that's how I really judge most of the things that I do, is just by feel and by, you know, I would say reading the room. And I just think that one of my biggest roles in AEW is to build younger talent. So we did that with the Inner Circle by having them aligned with me, and doing it again with the JAS. It's just you got a whole new batch of young guys that get a chance and a spotlight, and it really builds them. And so it builds me as well. You know, it just keeps me just as relevant to be in that mix as it is for those guys to be kind of associated with me. So it's been great, man. I've really enjoyed most of the stuff that I've done in AEW. It's all paid off well, and the most important thing is we've helped build the company and help build some of the younger guys and girls.
It's amazing what you've done. And now with Haymaker, the comic book, Haymaker being one of the characters that you used in New Japan Pro Wrestling, you brought over here.
Yep.
What was it about the comic book?
Well, I mean, so when I was starting with New Japan, I was feeling that I needed something darker than just Chris Jericho from WWE, because that's what it was. The first match I had with Kenny Omega was just Jericho. I think I even wore a light up jacket maybe. And then after I said, there's something bigger here. I want to do something darker and a little more heavy. And I thought, what would a serial killer look like if he was a pro wrestler? And that's kind of where the whole idea and the concept of Haymaker started. And like you said, I sold out 2 Tokyo Dome matches with that, and then brought it to AEW for whenever we do some really violent, you know, death match type thing. And then I started thinking, how many Superman, Spider-Man, Batman movies can we have? Sooner or later, somebody's going to have to create something new, a new superhero. And that's what I thought Haymaker. We did a couple NFTs of the Painmaker, kind of involving like creatures and kind of a little bit more of kind of the superpower type thing. And I thought, what if the Painmaker was a serial killer, but he was an intergalactic serial killer that reformed himself and is now on the hunt for other intergalactic serial killers to take them out, to assassinate them. But what if he still has the urge to kill innocent people from time to time, which keeps him flawed and an anti-hero? So that was kind of the whole basis of what we thought of, and then we just thought a graphic novel would be a great way to do it, but do it a little bit differently and keep it in the NFT and the blockchain world. Because that is kind of what's happening now, and it's going to be the future. I mean, if I would have told you 15 years ago when you handed me a DVD, that 15 years from now no one's going to have DVD players, so you can watch every movie you've ever had on your phone, people would have said you're nuts. Same thing they're saying now when I say NFTs are the future, the way that people will be consuming media. I still don't quite get it, but for those that do, there is a whole counterculture for NFTs and the blockchain that is completely out of this world for what we might understand. So I thought that's kind of the best way to do it, and let's focus on doing it chapter by chapter as a separate NFT. So that's kind of the route that we're going to take with the Painmaker graphic novel.
And that's really cool because that's like we've dabbled in the NFT space,
right?
And it just has blown up, and in a way that I even didn't think.
Well, and like I said, like once again, if you like when I first started my podcast in 2013, people still weren't sure what a podcast was, right? But because I started so early, now 9 years later, and there's literally 2.5 million. Think about that, 2.5 million podcasts. The reason why Talk is Jericho is still in the top 200 is because we started early. So people got familiar with Talk is Jericho, and I built up a great fan base of people who are like, well, let's stick with this one because we like it. Same thing with NFTs. I want people in a year, 2 years, or 3 years, when they start understanding NFTs and get into that space. Oh, we heard about that first from Chris Jericho. So let's go check out whatever he's doing in the NFT world first. So it kind of really is staying ahead of the curve, which I've always done, rather than being behind it and playing catch up. So yeah, it is a little bit weird to explain it to people, a little bit weird to get people to trust what it is. But once people understand it, it is the way of the world right now, and will be the way of the future as well.
Yeah, and that's the one thing I always appreciate and admired about you is that you're always innovating. You're always looking, especially not just in the wrestling business. Yeah. You're always looking outside of the wrestling business to be able to continue and grow and be able to still have different companies and different businesses in order to do things, because I see a lot of wrestlers, I've known a lot of wrestlers over the years who didn't have that or didn't have that motivation.
And I've never considered myself to be just a wrestler, so that's probably part of it right there. I mean, when I was a kid, I wanted to be a wrestler, I wanted to be a rock and roll band, and that's where Fozzy started. And once I kind of became successful at both of those, music and wrestling, well, then what else can we do? Let's write some books, let's do a podcast, let me start my own cruise. You know, all of these types of things, which is where I say with the Painmaker, with the graphic novel, the idea overall is to do something cinematic, do some kind of a feature film involving this character. And it's like, well, that's kind of hard. Why not? I did the same thing with every other project that I've done. So I think when you have a certain amount of creativity and a certain amount of fearlessness, you can get a lot accomplished. Nothing can really stop you. And that's where I'm at in my career, where I know exactly what I can do, and if I'm passionate about it, 9 times out of 10 it works. I've got a great fan base that follows me in everything that I do because they trust me. They know I don't just do anything for money or do anything half-assed. If I'm involved in it, it's going to be something very cool. At least in my opinion, it's very cool. And most of the time, I know kind of what my fans are looking for. So doing the graphic novel and doing the Painmaker, and with the idea of doing something cinematically with it, to me, it's a natural progression. Why wouldn't I want to try it?
Exactly. And let's touch about Fozzy. Awesome music. Went to your show in Garden Grove, and I was blown away because it was the first time I ever saw you live.
Yeah, it was
person, and that was awesome.
Thank you.
Awesome. But Judas, just like, it was a great song when it came out, and I remember when it came out. But when it got to AEW, and they don't even have to play the music. You could just walk out and everybody's singing.
Yeah.
What was that like to write a song and work on a song where literally you could walk out and they could be singing it? You hear thousands of people with no music.
Yeah, man. I mean, it really is a phenomenon. You know what I mean? It's the elusive hit single, and once you get that, it changes everything. And I knew when I first heard it that it was special. And I remember even when we released the video, somebody asked me, how many views do you hope it gets? And I was like, well, I hope it gets 3 million. And now we're almost at 60 million. You know, right out of the gate, it was something special. You know, playing it in hockey games and football games and soccer games over in Europe. And, you know, like you said, everybody sings it every week in AEW, to the point where when we started the JS and it turned heel, I wanted to change the music, but Tony Khan didn't want to, because he said it's a very unique moment that only happens in AEW. Why would we want to stop that? You know, and it's like, yeah, you're right. It is something very cool, because people really latched onto it. And then having it go gold, you know, having a gold record now for Judas, I mean, that's next level shit for a rock and roll band.
Exactly.
You know, I remember when I was a kid seeing Ozzy with his gold discs and platinum discs, and you know, you have to be pretty big time to have a gold record. So when we got that, when we saw it, when it happened, we started hearing about a year beforehand. You know, this is going to go gold. Like, really? Kind of trying to tabulate it, like maybe in the next year or 18 months. And in about a year it took for it to finally go gold. That's different. You put that on the wall, that's real deal right there. And it's very, very exciting, because once again, when we first started Fozzy, a lot of people didn't like us solely because I was the singer of the band. Oh, he's a wrestler, how can he possibly be a singer, you know? And we had to work twice as hard to get people's respect. Once we got it, we earned it for life. And then once we started getting played on rock radio, that took things to a different level too, because we never realized how important being on the radio was until we started getting played on the radio. And Judas was the one that really kind of kicked open the door for us to get us to that next level. So now we have 5 consecutive top 10 singles and a gold record. It's pretty cool.
It is. But the one video that I love, and it's not Judas, it's the one where you were riding in a roller coaster, singing, and I was like, okay, how was that? Because I could only imagine how hard that must have been.
It was very hard, because the human body isn't meant to be in a roller coaster 6 times in a row for the course of about an hour and a half. So if you watch that footage closely, some of the shots there's only 4 guys, because one of our guys got sick, literally puking everywhere, and had to take some of the rides off. And when we were finally done, the 6th ride, I was like, okay, that's it. Hope you got everything you need, because I can't do this anymore. Now, once again, nobody's ever done it, and that's why. And the reason why it's so hard is because no one's ever done it. So we paid the price. We got a great video out of it that people talk about to this day. And being the only band to do a video on a roller coaster, once again, something that Fozzy pioneered.
Yeah, Chris, you're just a pioneer in a lot of different fields. I have to mention it again, but thank you so much for stopping with us. We really appreciate it, because I've been a fan of you since the WCW days, when I was in high school, college, all the way up to now, and I just love what you've been doing.
I appreciate that, man.
Looking forward to seeing more of you.
Absolutely, I'll be around.
Great, thanks.